Sean Marcy was a popular track star at his high school. There he is. He won 28 medals in track competitions. He was healthy, he was athletic, he was well-liked. He never thought that anything had happened to him, even from a little dipping. He never thought he'd get addicted, but he was unable to quit. And one day he came home to his mom and he said, Mom, my tongue hurts. And she said, well, where's it hurting, son? And he said, well, it's about hurting here. And she looked and she said, well, how long has it been hurting? And he said, about 2 weeks. Has it gotten any better? No. Well, we better go to the doctor. They went to the doctor, they ran some tests, and a few days later, Sean's lounging around the house, watching TV like he always did. And he heard the phone ring, and he heard his mom pick up the phone in her bedroom like she always did. And a little while later, he heard something come from his mom's room, and he went over to the door, and he realized that she was sobbing inside. And he went through the door, and he came up behind his mom, and he said, Mom, what's wrong? And she looked at him, and she turned and she said, son, you have cancer in your tongue. We got to go to the hospital. And they went to the hospital, and they had to cut his tongue out, and he could never talk again. He was 18 years old. And a year later, the cancer had not gone away, and he had to have another operation, which they cut out part of his neck muscles and part of his jaw and part of his nose. The cancer had spread. And after that, the cancer continued to spread, and he still had not been cured, and he had to have more of his face cut off. And I'm going to show you a picture now of what Sean Marcy looked like at 19. Half of his jaw removed, half of his nose removed, and he knew that he was going to die. And Sean's best friend came, and he was in terrible, terrible pain. The pain. And his best friend came down from Chicago, and he sat on Sean's bedside, and he said, man, I wanted to get old with you. You're my best friend. You have been since childhood. He said, what's happened to you is terrible. What if we got a photographer to take a picture of you so other teens could see? And he began to shake his head in shame, and he had no tongue. He could not talk, so he gestured for paper and pencil, and he wrote these words. He wrote, no, I don't want to be photographed like this. Not like this. I feel so ashamed. And his friend said, what if other teens could get the message and see that picture of you? Maybe they wouldn't use chewing tobacco, and what happened to you would not happen to them. And he thought about it, and he was very reluctant, but he finally allowed this picture to be taken with his track medals on his chest, as though to say, so you can see that I was somebody. And he let this picture be taken as a gift to you, and to you, and to you, and to all of you. And his best friend persisted and said, do you have some words that if they could get into the hearts and minds of our teens, if they could hear it, what you said, what would the words be? And he nodded, and his eyes began to well with water, and he wrote these words as a message to each and every one of you. He wrote, don't dip, snuff. And not too long after that, Sean Marcy died at the age of 19. The story of Sean Marcy. Take a look and remember.